Auzu billahi minash-shaytanir rajim. Bismillahir-rahmanir-rahim. Distinguished viewers, I welcome you all to yet another episode of the forum. We have members from the Ombudsman of the Gambia. We have again our brother Jumake Kamara. Jumake Kamara is the Director of Communications of the Ombudsman. Welcome, Jumake Kamara. And on his far right, we have Mr. Per Simon Seka. Mr. Per Simon Seka is the Director of Investigations in the Ombudsman. I welcome you, gentlemen. Thank you. Mr. Kamara, in our last episode, we were talking about like visits to the prisons and other centers of detention. My question to you is going to be like what governance and human rights principles do these visits have?
All right, thank you very much, Mr. Ba. I'm not quite sure if my voice will carry me through the program.
It's okay, it's fine.
But if we look at the issue of visits to prisons and detention centers, it reminds us of some very important principles. Why should the Ombudsman be interested in people who are already in conflict with the law? This may be a kind of a question somebody would ask, maybe. People who are in detention, they have done something that requires them to be punished. This is not the correct way of seeing things. It is important for us to understand that anybody who is detained is detained on suspicion of having committed an offense, or is about, or there is reasonable evidence that he's about to commit a crime or an offense, or there is a court order that requires him to appear before the court. Assuming somebody has committed a crime, he is still presumed innocent. And that's the important principle that we should always remember. There's always the presumption of innocence until you are proven guilty.
That's right.
In a court of competent jurisdiction. And what about if a person is found guilty and is sentenced to a jail term? Then we may see. Therefore, he is already guilty. But even if you are guilty of a crime, you still have rights. You can be deprived of your right to liberty, but you still have rights. And even the notion that we are sentencing people to jail terms is based on punishment. That's not how modern concept of prison has become. It has evolved. For many of us, we should understand and we believe that when we send people to prison, we send them to prison because we want to reform them. We want them to come back, to come out of prison, being better people who can contribute to our development. They come out knowing that they are capable of doing things. But when they come out aggrieved, when they come out having gone through violations of their rights, being subjected to inhumane or degrading treatment, it affects their psychology, it affects their self-worth, it affects their dignity, and they may not be able to contribute to society. And in fact, they may come out feeling a sense of vengeance because society has treated me. Society has. So that is why When we look at these issues of visits to prisons and detention centers, we must look at them in the broader context of governance. That the state has the right or the responsibility to protect and defend the rights of all people, especially people who are vulnerable, people who are behind the bars. The issue of arresting people must conform with laws. So it reminds us that even when people are arrested, there is no law that says you can arbitrarily arrest. So I already have alluded to some circumstances under which people can be arrested. But also, even that is controlled in the sense that when you bring somebody, when there is suspicion that somebody has committed or about to commit, and there is need for him to appear before the court, that is done within 72 hours. So when that is violated, then a person's fundamental right is violated.
That's right.
So the state has a responsibility to protect the rights of all persons, to protect the rights of a people, and to ensure that principles of good governance are upheld, not only for people who are out of prison, who are not under detention, but also for people who are under detention. Governance has very important principles of transparency and accountability. When we say transparency in terms of prisons and detention centers, the visits, whether it is by Ombudsman or by human rights, other human rights institutions, or people dealing in that area, working in that area, it is to ensure there is a whole lot of transparency, openness of the system. There shouldn't be anything. It's not that the moment people are under, detention, they are in prison, then they are shut from society. So they are, whatever happens to them should be secret. But openness of process, and so that there is fairness of process. Openness in the sense that when you visit, like Bondi told us previously, when they go to places, unannounced, that tells people, okay, it means I cannot be in a position that will, if anybody should come in, find people in a manner that will indicate that their rights are violated. So when you have a process where people who are brought to prison, when they are brought, when they are released, that is the registers, because we observe all of those things, or how long they are, this makes the system more transparent. And under which conditions they are kept. This makes our system, the prison system, more transparent. And the issue of accountability is that every government institution that is tasked with holding or that is put in charge of people under detention, they are responsible for those people. This is the concept of accountability. Accountability, first and foremost, starts with knowing who is responsible for what, and ensuring that they take responsibility for whatever they are responsible of. And if there is violations under them, then you can apportion blame, or wrongdoing can be easily attributed. But also, if there is success, it means that it is easy to know that, okay, it is Mr. Ba who has helped the state, who has done this thing in terms of his TOR, and has contributed immensely to uplifting our governance level, our governance scorecard, to ensuring that it is remarkable. I mean, the scoreboard is favorable to the country, and that too has its own merits. The other side too, of course, if you have done it, so the ombudsman and these issues of visits, and so there is accountability and there is transparency in the system, in addition to ensuring that the rules, the laws of the land are upheld for people who are under detention, and to ensure that they are kept in conditions that are in keeping with local standards, with laws, as well as international standards. Because we don't want to be the people who are behind. We want to also be the people who are leading and ensuring in the defense and protection of the rights of all people.
That is brilliant, like the accountability and the, yeah. Before I come to Mr. Seka, quickly, Mr. Kamara, you've made mention about the 72 hours detention. Can you please shed some light on that? I think the viewers out there will really want to like have more understanding about the like the hours of detention, that is 72 hours.
Yes, in section 19 of the Constitution, subsection 3, it provides for people to be brought before court within 72 hours. Why is this so? Because if this is not done, it will constitute detention without trial. There has to be a limit to how long you can keep people. This is in keeping with good principles of human rights, but also of governance, so that people's rights are not violated. Now, the 72 hours means that you can take people to court to try them, to appear before the court. If your detention is going to go beyond 72 hours, it will not be determined by a prison officer or a police officer, but by a court of law. And if the Constitution provides that if people are unnecessarily kept in the prison or detention centers and they are not brought before a court, they should be released unconditionally or on condition, but all reasonable conditions to enable them to appear before a court of law, or to to appear for preliminary findings in connection with their trial. So I think this is important in the sense that, look, when we visit, we ensure that the rights of a people, fundamental rights of a people, is not violated. If that is done, it means that your fundamental right under the Constitution is what is violated.
That is very brilliant. Coming to Mr. Seka, Mr. Seka is the investigation guy in the Ombudsman. How can someone lodge a complaint to the Ombudsman, Mr. Seka, please?
Okay, thank you very much. Yeah, the Ombudsman office, you can lodge a complaint either by coming to the office. We have a complaints officer there who will reduce what you have said into writing, and then the matter will forward to the Ombudsman, where it will be assessed to see whether the case falls within our mandate or it does not fall within our mandate. Or secondly, if you are somebody who is literate, you can write to the Office of the Ombudsman, but when writing, you have to give us your detailed address, your telephone number, the nature of the complaint, background of the complaint, the people that you have been interacting with before you lodge the complaint. Because one thing that one has to realize is the Ombudsman is the last resort. Before coming to the Ombudsman, we expect that you have exhausted all the channels that you are supposed to exhaust within the institution and the officials that you have been dealing. If nothing works, then you can come to the Office of the Ombudsman. So also we will want to, when you are writing that complaint, you tell us what was the response from those public officials. Even if you, whether also you have written to the head of department, because there are instances whereby the head of the department is not aware, because if he is aware, he could have solved the problem quickly. So in those cases, even if where you have written to him and you didn't have any response or whatever, then you can lodge the complaint to the officer. You can mention that in your complaint, and also all the correspondences that you have been doing with the head of institutions or the institutions or the officials concerned, you can attach it in the complaint and you bring it before the Office of the Ombudsman. And once you bring that complaint, once we receive it, there's what we call assessment of the complaint, because we have to assess the complaint to ensure that it falls within our mandate. Because if I told that we have investigated a case which does not fall within our mandate, then we are acting ultra vires beyond our mandate, and that matter, if it's taken before the court, it could be squashed by the court, saying that you have acted beyond your mandate. So we'll find out that once it is assessed and it is found out that it falls within our mandate, then the Ombudsman will give approval for the investigation to be commenced. So these are the ways that one can see. Even we have a website right now, which I think one can lodge his complaint online, and there is a form which states give you a guideline as to how to go about it. So initially also you can use telephone, but for us we prefer more if you come in person or you write. But there's also nothing wrong using the telephone to call us and to talk to us about your complaint. But most of the time, the practice at the office is either you come in person, or you write, send us this thing, and we can look into the complaint.
That is very brilliant, Mr. Seka. You've mentioned like if someone has a complaint, you can come and lodge the complaint. Then you can see the nature of the problem. My next question to you is going to be like, are there any formal steps that you have with Ombudsman that are involved in how someone can lodge a complaint?
Yeah, normally, just as I've said initially, there are two ways. You either come to the office or you write on your own with the details that I've just explained, and you brought it to the Ombudsman. So once we receive those complaints, and we found out that it is within our mandate, then what we do is we'll explain to you what you expect from us. Because the Ombudsman is all about transparency, accountability, and probity. So we are saying, and transparency. So we are saying that once the complaint is lodged to us, the first thing that we'll do is we will explain to you what is expected of us, how long the investigation will take. You see, and also we'll tell you that, okay, one of the principles of investigation is impartiality, that we have an open mind, we don't side with either the administration or with you. We are neutral, we are an umpire in the middle, we just investigate, because investigation is fact-finding. And based on those facts that we gathered, and also the laws that are involved in that particular case, and also the witnesses that we have interviewed, will determine our recommendations, because one of the principles of Ombudsman is offering redress. Once we have found, made our investigation, and also come across, found out that, okay, you have been unfairly treated or whatever, and looking at all the relevant laws, we make a recommendation for that person, for that institution to implement our recommendations of the office. There are other steps that we have to take, but I think as time goes on, I will explain to you those areas.
Yeah, we will come to that, Mr. Seka. But before you come to that, I will come back to Mr. Kamara. Mr. Kamara, there are various issues that can give rise to complaints. But I want us to talk about one word in specific, that is like appointment. Or in other words, in other companies, they may say recruitment. Like, are the processes of recruitment like big complaints in the Ombudsman?
Yeah, thank you. The issue of appointment or recruitment is one area that can give rise to complaints. Anytime we will hear a complaint, it's either that is the public sector complaint that is emanating within the public sector itself. That is complainant, both complainant and the one complaint agents being public officers. Sometimes you go up to the level of retirement. A complaint that emanates is as a result of something that is linked to your appointment. So the appointment process, all along, you find complaints coming, grievances that are as a result of the process of recruitment. The acts of maladministration or wrongdoing is two-way traffic. Sometimes it is the employer, but sometimes it is the employee. Now, looking at the appointment or recruitment process, what specific issues are there that may give rise to complaints? You see, the moment there is a vacancy, what we hear is that there's an advertisement, right? From suitably qualified, for example, from suitably qualified Gambians. And when we hear this word, suitably qualified Gambians, you expect people to apply for these vacancies or these jobs or positions. And since it says suitably qualified Gambians, then the word Gambian, it means you have to be Gambian to apply. It can give rise to somebody forging his nationality, to say that he's Gambian when he's not Gambian. That means to obtain a Gambian ID card or to obtain a Gambian birth certificate and to seek to be employed in the Gambia Public Service. When we say suitably qualified Gambians, the suitability there brings a whole lot of issues that can reflect and be the subject of grievances or complaints or problems within public institutions. For example, somebody who is seeking employment, he knows there is an age limit, for example. Even this is contested by people that you don't discriminate based on age, but then you do find it. So somebody reduces his age and he forged birth certificates or ID cards to say just to prove that he is entitled to apply for that job. Then age is one thing. And you know what? Later on, we have received complaints relating to this issue of age. Somebody saying that they say he is due for retirement, but he's not due for retirement because he's not 60 years. Because he has increased maybe his age to benefit other things. And that comes back to haunt him. And the other area of forgery in relation to appointment processes. Still, I'm talking about employees. Sometimes an employee, knowing that the qualification for this post is a bachelor's degree, or master's degree, or a diploma, he can forge a bachelor's degree, a master's degree. People even in the world, do you hear that somebody claim to have a PhD, but he does not have a PhD. So all of these things, they arise along the way. Somebody is challenging somebody that he does not have a PhD. Or an employer is challenging somebody that, he is not qualified to teach or to be employed because what he claimed to have, he never heard that. In fact, I recall when I was going to school, my first IRK teacher at high school, he was somebody who was a non-Muslim, and he never read Islamic studies. But he presented papers to the school authorities, and he was employed as our IRK teacher, and he was teaching us shirk. If you tell a Muslim shirk, the Muslim will say, what is shirk? What is shirk? For him, he does not know what is shirk. He knows shirk, but he does not know shirk. So what I'm saying is he's fired. But just like in his case, employers do, and you know what? It is gross misconduct to provide false information in the employment process. To say you have a degree when you do not have. To say you have this age when you do not have. And sometimes these are the issues, relating to the side of the employees that will register complaints relating to conduct or things that they have done during the time of the recruitment process. Then you have the employer. The employer, several things can happen along the way. You have people who employ people verbally. Verbally, you are employed. they have done things that also later on develops into other problems. But even at that process itself, some of the complaints that we register is that I do not have an appointment letter. It is not in keeping with good administrative practice that you appoint somebody verbally. They do this. Some of the employers do this knowingly. Knowing that once you are employed verbally, then you can be dismissed verbally.
That's right.
And also, because a formal process of appointment will require that you have a person's title, his status. It's a pensionable permanent appointment. You have an exit clause that he has a right to also leave, or he can also be fired or removed upon giving 1 month's notice. His starting point, agreed, the salary is there. So, if none of this thing, if there is no position for you formally, how do you know where your terms of reference fall under? So they can abuse you. So all you know is that I am an employee. But they can task you for anything and to any degree. If there is no statement of the starting point of your grade, then they can pay you anything. And you wouldn't also know how you are rising through the payment ladder. Because there is no starting point. All of these are supposed to be included in the appointment letter. If you do not have an exit clause, and it is not from the beginning that you can remove him from or terminate his service, if there is reason, of course, that's just cause. But upon giving a month's notice, if that is not there, it means that he can be there for just a day and then he is told, okay, one day, please go home, your service is not needed. So a lot of times the problems that we handle relating to, but even that, an employee too can just come. And you know what, sometimes you dig a hole for somebody to fall in. You might be the one to fall in that hole, right? An employee too can just get up one day and say, I am going to have a job. I'm going to have a job. He does not know he is supposed to give a month's notice. You probably did not tell him because you think that would be to your advantage. But here you are faced with a scenario. Somebody is leaving. He just gets up one day and he says he has a job. He's going. You have helped to make him ignorant of the rules of employment, when to leave, how to leave, under what circumstances. You have contributed to his low level of understanding about the process. You thought or you think you are doing that because it's going to serve your interest, and it comes back to haunt you. Even the process of advertising, employing, recruiting people. That's why the Ombudsman even Act states the process of recruitment in the security services to have a balanced structuring, or not to have discrimination in the recruitment process. The reason the Ombudsman Act provides for this is that it means there's a possibility of some kind of favoritism. The employer too can give the job to the least qualified person. That too will be violating the terms of principles of good governance. Like good administration, because everybody stand a chance to get employed. But when you get the least qualified and ignore the most qualified or the most competent and give it to the least competent, you have not only violated or abused your office by misapplying your powers. You have not only denied somebody what is entitled, but you have also contributed to creating a mediocre system, a system that does not value merit. You have contributed to a system that if you appoint people who are incompetent, you cannot give what you do not have. You appoint people who are incompetent, then they will not be able to execute the demands of the post for which they have been appointed. So the violations of conditions can arise, can happen. Conditions of fairness, of openness, and ensure that it is advertised that it needs to be advertised. There is when there is no need for headhunting, there shouldn't be any need for headhunting. If there is need for only governments to be qualified, there is need for qualified governments to be applied to be appointed to a post. Why do you want to bring some people outside? So a lot of times you can have also complaints relating to the process itself. The process itself, that it is not fair, that it is not just, that it did not follow respected standards of recruitment, and all of those things are areas. I'm just summarizing, but every stage of the issues that we are talking about and we're going to talk about, they are also broad, that at every stage issues can arise that will give rise to complaint during the process or later on in the life of a public officer. Certain complaints can emerge, or the employer can emerge as a result of the process of appointment or the process of recruitment.
I think that point has been dealt with excellently. Going back to Mr. Seka, I want to put this question to you like this. What are the steps that are involved in investigation in the Ombudsman?
Yeah, the steps that are involved after approval has been given by the Ombudsman for a case to be investigated. The officer, depending on the complexity of the case, because there are cases that after looking at it, then you will just go to you will use the mediation approach, go to the institution concerned, and you can solve it within a day or within a week. If the case is a complex case, then what you do is you assign to an investigator, and what the investigator has to do first is to look at the relevant laws that are relevant to that particular case, and also look at the issues that has been raised in the complaint. Sometimes it could be one issue or two or three, depending on the number of issues that are in the complaint. Then after that is done, you look at the witnesses that you are going to interview, because those witnesses also you have to prioritize them, and also you have to look at the documents, evidence, which also can support the investigation process. And once you have got all these four steps that I have explained, then you will analyze. And once you have analyzed the investigation, because investigation is all about fact finding, once you analyze, then you come to a conclusion and write a preliminary report. And that preliminary report will be taken before the Ombudsman and deputies for them to look at before coming up with a final recommendation on the matter. So where the Ombudsman has made a recommendation, the institution that is concerned, we give them almost about sometimes 2 weeks or 1 week to see whether they will implement our recommendations or they will not they will not implement. So in the event where they have failed to implement our recommendations, we'll call them to show cause why they have failed to implement our recommendations. And if they are able to give genuine reason and bring new evidence, we will review our investigation and this thing, and then we'll come up with a different, if at all they have convinced the Ombudsman. But in the event where they have failed to convince the Ombudsman, what the Ombudsman will do is, the Ombudsman will ask them to give out an order to implement their recommendation within a particular period, failing which the matter will be referred to His Excellency the President, who has a final say on the matter. And whatever recommendation or decision the President has taken, we will communicate back to the complainant, or to the institution that this is what has happened. So we have few instances where we have referred the matter to His Excellency the President, and the outcome we are favorable in as far as the Ombudsman is concerned. Those institutions were asked to implement the recommendation of the Ombudsman, and they adhere to the recommendations of the Ombudsman. So these are the steps that are so far involved as far as case when we start investigation. One, we ensure that it's within the mandate of the Ombudsman. Two, we make sure that we are not acting ultra vires. And the third one, the steps that are involved, we explain it, because we have to be transparent to the complainant to know what he is going to expect from us at the end of the day once we have completed the investigation.
Mr. Seka, what are the powers of the Ombudsman?
Yeah, the powers of the Ombudsman. Yeah, normally in our what we do in practice, what we do is if we feel that a particular head of institution should come to the office of the Ombudsman, we will invite you for you to come to the Ombudsman so that we can sit down and discuss the matter and find a solution. But in the event where we have invited you and you refuse to come, the Ombudsman has the powers to summons, and that summons has the same force as summons issued by the High Court. So once you are summoned and you have failed to report to the office of the Ombudsman, then the Ombudsman can issue a warrant, and that warrant will be given to the police to force your appearance. So that is one of the powers of the Ombudsman, issuing warrant to force complainants who have failed to come to the response to the invitation of the Ombudsman. You can be forced. The second one is the Ombudsman has powers during the course of his investigation to enter any building at any time and have access to any document that is in connection with the case that they are investigating. They have the powers also to look at any case that has been brought to them, and they determine the case and make a recommendation. So they also have the powers to extract from any documents, like it could be a voucher, it could be a cash book or whatever, but any material that is relevant to its investigation, the Ombudsman has the power to make sure that those access to those powers, except where the matter is under the classified information. Then there is a portion where which says that, okay, we need a certificate from His Excellency to say whether that document should be released or not. But apart from that, any document that we feel that is relevant to our investigation, we have the mandate to lay hands on those documents as far as this thing. And what we normally do is we issue our summons to produce document. And once we issue those documents and we will list the number of documents that we want to have access to, you will come to your institution and you will make sure that those things are available to us. So these are the powers. The first power is to arrest. The second one is to have access to documents that is relevant to its investigation.
Wow. Yeah. That is the office of the Ombudsman have powers, huh? Yeah. Back to Mr. Kamara. Mr. Kamara, I just want to ask you one question quickly. Are there any issues of salary and allowances? Can it bring grievance?
I think we have received a lot of, sometimes you would say, salary and allowance issues from top the issues of complaints. And talking about salary, there are various aspects of salary that can give rise or to complaints. We were talking about appointment, and then I mentioned that somebody may be appointed and there is no indication of where his starting point is, grade, salary, what grade. That can give rise to issues of grievances, in the sense that they will complain to say that they are underpaid. And it is the right of an employee to be paid, and to be paid the right salary. So anytime an employer underpays an employee, this gives rise to complaints. But not only paid your salary, another issue is you should be paid your salary on time. On time. Sometimes people will complain that there's delay in the payment of their salary. But that's just one thing. There's also usually complaints about not paid your salary. You know, this issues like my previous point and this one, I call it, they're linked. The process of recruitment, sometimes you know what happens. You appoint somebody 2 months, 3 months, he's not paid. Why? The documentation process is not concluded. We are working on finalizing. You understand? Making some administrative arrangements for the payment of his salary. So you see, failure to pay salary, in fact, that's the major cause of grievances. I mean, late payment of salary, underpayment, that is like, I think I'm entitled to more than that, or people thinking that because of the lack of transparency in this, not lack, but instances of processes not being transparent do happen, to the point that employees will think that they are receiving less. And when you say allowances, in fact, that's the so much complaints have emerged over the years, you know, at the Ombudsman office relating to issues of allowances. And allowances can be just whatever you're entitled to as part of your salary. You know, your salary is your basic and your allowances. Of course, salary is, you know, basic, but then, you know, what you're paid, you know, your net pay is not just your basic salary, it's your basic salary and your allowances. Somebody can own a car and he is entitled to a car allowance. And he's driving his car and he's not paid his car allowance.
That's right. You've made mention of a very interesting point. That is, most of the grievance is caused by like salary. Let's talk about like promotion. Can promotion also lead to like grievance? Like, do the Ombudsman also like receive complaints about promotion that can give rise to like grievance?
Of course. When it comes to promotion, this is another area. In the sense that you find people who will work for many years at the same salary, at the same level of payment. When I say promotion here, maybe you're substantively rising from one level of position to another level of position, but also, of course, realizing changes. Sometimes even if you're the same salary, but realizing changes in your take home. But now let's look at the issue of the understanding of promotion. Of course, moving from one person to another person. Some services are structured in a way that people will move, perform, be appointed. They will maybe for example, the security, maybe you're first class or you're a lance corporal or whatever. And of course, with your performance and good conduct, you can be there for example, you're there for many years and others are just rising. Then you'll be aggrieved, right?
That's true.
You'll be aggrieved. So you do have complaints because people feel that their colleagues, these people that I'm appointed with. And of course, we're all performing. And there is nothing adverse in my file, or there has not been any findings against me of incompetence or committing actions that are contrary to my to the expectations of my boss, which may contribute to my me not being promoted. So they look at people rising, they do raise complaints about that, and they say, okay, they're also equally entitled. And sometimes what complaints that you have about promotion is that you have a vacant position and somebody acts in that position and he performs the functions of that position, and he has every qualification, and his performance too is an additional indication that he is capable of handling, and then you give it to a less qualified person, he will be aggrieved.
That can cause grievance.
They can cause, yes, it can cause grievances.
Yeah.
So
Time is against us. But back to Mr. Sega, just finally, like after all the investigations and all those things, what can the Ombudsman do?
Yeah, just as I explained, where we have completed investigation, we expect the institution that is complained against to implement recommendations of the Ombudsman. Because of the key goal of the Ombudsman is offering remedies. Either restoring the person to the position that he would have been had the maladministration or unfair treatment occurred. Or where that is not possible, then that individual should be compensated adequately. So these are the two areas that, when we investigate and make recommendations against a particular institution, we expect you to implement our recommendations. And in most cases, just as I said, it's only a few instances that we have the opportunity to refer the matter to His Excellency. But we use our persuasive skills because of that is also part of the Ombudsman strategy. Investigation is all about fact-finding. If an investigation is thoroughly done and all the facts are lying on the table, then it could be very easy for you to convince that head of department that, okay, look, these are the facts and they are backed by evidence. This person should be promoted, or this person is entitled to longevity. Just as Juma was saying, we have so many cases of that nature whereby somebody will be in a particular position for almost about 10, 15 years. He's not promoted. But the general order is saying that whereby somebody is promoted and he has jammed the grade level, grade point of 8. After 2 years, he's eligible to be promoted. But sometimes, for one reason or the other, especially where you are posted in the provinces, you find it difficult, or sometimes even it may escape the authorities, the administrative authorities. So they will just dump you there. Nothing is happening when you are due for longevity because you are not promoted. You are not paid, and then that also make you not to be productive because of you say, oh, I'm just stagnant for almost about 10, 15 years. I'm not promoted. So this job came let me just do what this thing. So you will find out that when such things happen, we will get into the bottom of it and then recommend. And recently, we find out that everything has been computerized with the Personal Management Office, whereby when somebody is due for longevity, it will just flag. So right now, I learned that it's automatic. But initially, we have been having a lot of that in the provinces, or whereby somebody will die, and he's supposed to pay death gratuity. The family will not know. So these things, when Duma and others go on sensitization, it will come out, and we will follow the matter with the Department of Treasury or other institutions that are concerned until they are paid. Yeah. Okay. So just in a nutshell, once we implement our recommendation, we expect public institutions to adhere to our recommendations, and they have been doing very well. The working relations, at least, is cordial because of the facts are there. Once the facts are there, it's very difficult for one to say, I'm not going to, except if you are recalcitrant. And if you are recalcitrant, we refer the matter to His Excellency, the President
of the Republic.
Yeah.
Okay. Thank you, Mr. Seka, and thank you, Mr. Kamara. Dear viewers, this is all time has allowed us. Until our next episode of the forum, Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.